Cleveland Browns walked out of Pittsburgh yesterday, bruised, battered, literally, physically beaten, and probably a little bit mentally broken down. This was the thought process of what was the first 6 games of the Cleveland Browns 2025 schedule. And by no means was it pretty, but also by no means should it tell the tale of the 2025 Cleveland Browns season. We knew there were opponents in these first 6 games that, for the most part, were light years ahead of them. The true time of judgment will come now when the Browns are starting to play teams that are probably more on their level. We'll talk about that. A whole bunch more. Browns 3D on the OBR begins now. Welcome back, my friends, to the show that never ends, your daily delivery of all things Dog Pound Browns 3D on the OBR streaming network. I am your host, Jeff Lloyd. We appreciate each and every one of you that come to the OBR every day, in good times and in bad times, for your favorite Cleveland Browns coverage. Whether it's over at the OBR.com, all the work from our fantastic writers while you're there, certainly look into the VIP package, the insider forums, ask the insiders, and of course, your subscription gets bundled with a subscription for Paramount Plus. Or whether you come on out to the OBR streaming network beginning nightly at 6 p.m. Eastern with Browns 3D, host of other great shows throughout the week to keep your interest in this Cleveland Browns team, or to hopefully wash away the tears. I guess where to start. Of the, I believe it was 5 players from yesterday's game injured, there is no update as of this time. So the guess would be that Wednesday, when we start to head out to practice, and we hear from the beat reporters at practice about who's on the field and who's not, will be when we start to kind of gauge where we are with that. I think I'm going to start with Myles Garrett. And look, Myles Garrett, you signed the extension. You chose to stay here. You can believe whatever you wanted to believe, but there's not many people who actually understand the game of football that thought the Cleveland Browns were going to be a competitor this year. I believe the quote was in regards to the question of what's it like to have the lead late in the game and just be able to pin your ears back. And Myles Garrett's answer was, must be nice. Well, really? Because where were you last week with less than 3 minutes to go and your team had the lead? And a Minnesota Vikings offense with 4 out of 5 backup offensive linemen playing. Carson Wentz at quarterback. No Aaron Jones at running back. Sliced and diced you for a game-winning touchdown. Because you just had this situation that you tried to give a smart-ass answer on yesterday after Pittsburgh. You had the same situation the week before in Minnesota. And you and your defense didn't show up. Now to get up and grandstand and whatever yesterday was, could you maybe do that on a day where you give a little bit more to the ledger than 2 assisted tackles? I get it, man. Team isn't playing very well. But people worry about, the locker room getting lost, things of that nature. I'm sure a lot of it isn't easy when you have one of the highest paid players in the NFL not performing to the level of which he's being paid, and then having the audacity to stand up in front of the media and show his displeasure with the rest of the team. Point the finger at yourself first. You want to be a leader? Tell leaders lead. Sorry. That one just does not sit right with me anyway whatsoever. You were once a kid on a 2017 team that went 0-16, played with a Hall of Fame talent like Joe Thomas. How many times did Joe Thomas stand in front of that media and point his finger at other members within that locker room? Pretty sure that never happened. If you want to be the leader, you want to be the star. Act like it. I opened a post-game show with Pete Smith yesterday, and I want to reiterate this. I actually, in a certain amount of way, came away pretty impressed with Dylan Gabriel yesterday. Not in the way that I think most of you people think it's going to go. But to be able to go bell to bell in that game yesterday, have zero support from your offensive line, not a lot of support whatsoever from your receivers, numerous drop passes, zero threat of a running game. Dylan Gabriel's a tough SOB. Took 6 sacks, went 60 minutes, gave it everything he had. Is the play calling conservative and overall not so great? I'd say yeah. But you also have a rookie quarterback out there in his second career start in one of the more difficult places to play in the entire NFL. So you're trying to at least give the kid a puncher's chance. Jerry Jeudy drops passes. David Njoku drops passes. Isaiah Bond, I must have said it to myself 15 times as the night went on last night after the game. What exactly were you looking at? I mean, did you really think there was a possibility that the ball was not going to be thrown? No receiver ever runs a pattern thinking in the back of his head, I'm not getting the ball, unless it's a screen. And if that's the case, you weren't running a short drag over the middle of the field. Congratulations, Isaiah Bond. You kissed away your first career NFL touchdown because you weren't watching the play. So much talk of, why have the Browns abandoned the run? Where's Quinshon Judkins? The run stunk. They couldn't run yesterday. Pittsburgh physically took it away. Quinshon Judkins is not the receiving back that Jerome Ford is. Not even sure he's the receiving back that Dylan Sampson is. Pittsburgh Steelers absolutely erased Quinshon Judkins out of the game plan yesterday. It's kind of what good teams do. Good teams take away the opponent's best playmaker, or at least they try to. That is the goal of your defensive plan. It obviously worked for Pittsburgh yesterday. Without being able to run the ball, there wasn't really threat of much else. Again, however, you keep seeing defenses do the same thing to the Cleveland Browns. Playing a soft cover too, clicking and closing, and driving down on receivers. The routes are not run crisply. They're not run quickly. And the one thing I think where there's a lot of confusion as far as route running in the NFL is everybody just assumes every route is the same. When the fact is the routes vary very differently, whether it is zone coverage or man. Man coverage, you're just trying to create separation. Zone coverage, you were trying to calculate space while running a route. You don't just, you don't run a route against zone coverage to create separation. You run a route against zone coverage to find an open passing lane. And when most of your receiver core is extremely young, which the Browns are, I don't even think Malachi Corley took a pass route rep yesterday, which means besides Jerry Jeudy, and yes, you made a point to get him involved, and yes, he had 5 receptions. It was under 50 yards. Still had a drop. Had a 15-yard penalty. No, Jerry Jeudy is not a true number 1 wide receiver in the NFL. He is the Cleveland Browns' number 1 wide receiver. And until he can give you some legitimate production, it is a huge thing that holds this offense back. Because right now, he is their only threat vertically. And I'm not even talking 30 and 40 yards down the field. I'm talking more 15 to 20. So if you can't get Jerry Jeudy to perform in those 15 to 20-yard routes, opening up everything else underneath, I'm not sure how quickly or if ever things are going to get better in the year 2025. But the rest of your wide receiver room then yesterday was Isaiah Bond, who got here in late August. Jamari Thrash, who was a day 3 pick 2 years ago. And Gage Lavardane, who was an undrafted free agent. It actually was a pretty good moment, I thought, for Gage yesterday. He got his first 2 receptions under his belt, 22 yards. However, unfortunately, left the game due to a concussion. It's really difficult, and I think this is one thing, if you watched the Tampa Bay game yesterday, and I'm not trying to make this a huge Baker Mayfield thing, but you can have a young quarterback, a rookie quarterback, with veteran playmakers and succeed in the NFL. You can have a veteran quarterback, like Baker Mayfield, the situation he was in yesterday, with rookie playmakers, Tez Johnson, Keyshawn Williams, and still succeed. It is extremely difficult for what the Cleveland Browns are doing right now to have rookie quarterback, almost all of your offensive weapons be rookies as well, and have an old, aging offensive line. And I don't even know what words we can use to describe just what in the hell this offensive tackle situation is right now for the Cleveland Browns. You came into the season thinking it was DeJuan Jones and Jack Conklin. Conklin misses time. Cornelius Lucas comes in and plays them. Then DeJuan Jones gets hurt. Then it's KT Levinson. That didn't work. Then Conklin comes back. Then you make the move for Cam Robinson. 2 weeks ago in England, the two of them combined for 5 penalties. Yesterday, Cam Robinson combines for some more penalties. Jack Conklin leaves the game yesterday. KT Levinson has to go in at right tackle. Cam Robinson leaves the game. And then I think Jenkins came in at left tackle. I mean, this is literally a who's on first Abbott and Costello routine as far as the Cleveland Browns are concerned with the offensive tackle position. It is absolutely a joke. There is no way for it to succeed. It's embarrassing. It's absolutely embarrassing how bad the offensive tackle play has been. And the fact that they are just hoping and crossing their fingers that they even have 2 healthy bodies to throw at the positions week in, week out. Oh, yeah. Thayer Munford, who had been here for 3 weeks on the 53-man roster, did not dress once. He was released today. What the hell is he doing on the 53-man roster for 3 weeks? And is he out? Because that means Conklin's out this week or Cam Robinson's out this week, and we got to bring another tackle in? I I literally I have a lot of patience, but I'm losing most of it in regards to the Cleveland Browns offensive line play. It's really, really difficult for this offense to succeed. Really, I think the only true consistency you're getting out of this team right now is probably from Quinshon Judkins for a relatively good amount other than the drops, David Njoku. And although he had a big drop yesterday, Harold Fannin Jr. These are like the only guys who are actually giving you any level of consistency on the offensive side of the ball as far as skill players are concerned. And obviously, it's going to make things really, really difficult to succeed that way. I get those who bring up Coach Kevin Stefanski and his job security. I get it. I don't disagree. I don't agree with you yet. And if anybody who knows me and the way I speak of Kevin Stefanski, that yet should tell you that even I'm concerned about the situation. But my concern is trying to have so many rookies be on the same page. This is not something that Joe Flacco would have changed. And even still, you saw what Joe Flacco did yesterday in a performance that was good. Somewhat good, I would guess. And his team still lost. So I don't care that the Browns moved on from Joe Flacco in any way whatsoever. Once he felt that the playoffs were unreachable, it was time to go to the kids anyway. And it's pretty much what the Browns did. I know I put out a tweet a few weeks ago. And it was, if I could take all the positives from Dylan Gabriel's game and match them with the positives from Shedeur Sanders' game, the Browns would probably have their franchise quarterback. You wish Dylan Gabriel was 2 inches taller. You wish Dylan Gabriel had a little bit more arm oomph. Neither one of them you're going to get the desired athletic ability you would want from a number one quarterback in the NFL. I think there's things that Dylan does kind of miss. I think when Dylan rules out the right side of the field during his read progressions and then automatically focuses left, I don't think Dylan goes back to the right-hand side at any point whatsoever. On both plays where Jalen Ramsey, definitely the second sack from Jalen Ramsey. If Gabriel could have just set himself, he would have seen that Whitehart was standing basically wide open. Granted, it was just a check down. Was standing wide open after getting a slight chip or even a missed chip on Jalen Ramsey and was there wide open for an easy pitch and catch that probably would have picked up 7, 8, 9 yards. Because at that point, Gabriel had focused left and couldn't get his vision back to the right-hand side of the field. I don't think this is something that's going to aid him. I mean, hold him back forever. And of course, that's going to have to do with how much time he actually gets. But certainly something that I've noticed through 2 starts. The other thing I'm noticing with Dylan Gabriel playing for the Cleveland Browns as opposed to Dylan Gabriel in college is Dylan Gabriel in college, wide receivers were essentially being schemed open. So Dylan Gabriel was already looking to the area for his guy. Get the ball to the area, his guy should be there. I think there are times when Dylan Gabriel is ready to release the ball, throw the ball, fire it, fire, throw the ball, and he has no confidence that the guys are going to be in the spots they're supposed to be in. Certainly some things, on Dylan. There was a ball behind David Njoku. If you want to say the Isaiah Bond ball was technically behind him, that's fine. But if Bond had been running the route correctly, he would have been shuttling down to give Dylan Gabriel a passing window. It was an absolute short touchdown. Huge, absolute touchdown. That's on Isaiah Bond. He catches that. It's a 23-16 game. If the Browns lose 23-16 in Pittsburgh, certainly looks a hell of a lot different than losing 23-9 in Pittsburgh. I like Gabriel. Do I think he's a legitimate option to ever be a long-term starting quarterback for the Cleveland Browns? No, I do not. I think there's physical traits that he just lacks that unfortunately hold him back. And this was the question. Now, you can view this as Dylan Gabriel is going to start several more games this year for the Cleveland Browns, and Shedeur Sanders is probably going to start a couple as well. But in no way are either one of these guys going to threaten whatever guy it is the Cleveland Browns ultimately draft in April. They could start over him for a little tiny bit because maybe the Browns franchise believes that the quarterback they draft is not week one ready, which is okay. But no, Dylan Gabriel is not a starting quarterback material in this league. Can he be a high-end number two? That's something we're going to wait and see and determine here over the next couple of weeks. What I had said when the Browns ultimately went to Dylan Gabriel for the Europe game was the question was going to be, is what Dylan Gabriel is missing physically going to hold him back from succeeding within this NFL? And to this point, I'd say probably yes. This is an offense in Cleveland and with Stefanski that sometimes just absolutely shows you nothing beyond 20 to 25 yards past the line of scrimmage. Absolutely nothing. Which is the absolute craziest thing. Because when this offense is successful, it's usually because they hit a couple of deep passes and it opens up everything else for everybody else. The run game, all the underneath stuff. Gabriel just ain't got kind of juice. Had Judy open in the end zone yesterday. Don't want to say he overthrew him. He missed him wide. There was another play where Judy had beat the corner off the line. Gabriel didn't even entertain it. So I get that you all are pointing the finger at the offense, which ultimately means that you're pointing the finger at Coach Kevin Stefanski. I get it. I do. I do. When the offensive line is playing like hot ass, and they are, and they're either old, inexperienced, are just not good enough. That's your Cleveland Browns offensive line right now. Old, inexperienced, are just not good enough. Something I said all offseason and all summer long. When so many of you just assumed that because the Browns were going back to the coach Kevin Stefanski system, that the offensive line was going to return to their 2020 form, where they were one of the top offensive lines in the entire NFL. Everybody's old. 8 years for Teller, 9 years for Posick. I don't know if it's 11 or 12 for Petonio. They're old. Time is up. Are the Browns going to have to field an entire new offensive line next year? 100%. Would I like to see a guy like Luke Whippler be starting now? Absolutely. See what he's got. I'd love to have some sort of guy like Whippler to start playing right now at the tackle position. Should be DeJuan Jones. That's obviously not going to happen. I'd entertain keeping Cam Robinson around beyond 2025. But 4 penalties in 2 games certainly ain't enough for me to do it. Question's going to be is where is he at health-wise, and how many more opportunities am I going to get to see him play for this Cleveland Browns team this year? You have to believe in somehow, some way, Tevin Jenkins would be an option to be a starting guard next season. Although we haven't gotten an opportunity to see him play enough here for Cleveland to even talk on that. I'd love to think Zach Zinter is an option, and I'm sure he is. But, that means you got to sit Teller, you got to sit Petonio to give these guys some playing time. I kind of liked Tyson Campbell. I'm not going to lie. Definitely a difficult situation for Tyson Campbell. And, they made a great point, I think, during the game as to why it was, almost feasible for Tyson Campbell to go out there and play this week for the Browns. Having coming over, the trade on Wednesday to get here for Thursday. He's basically just playing man. But what I like about Tyson Campbell is he is physical. The one thing the Browns corners have had issues with is the more they try to be involved in the run game and just overall tackling is usually when you see Denzel Ward lead the field. It's usually when you see Greg Newsome lead the field. You see it in Tyson Campbell. He's built a whole hell of a lot different, Tyson Campbell. His eyesight and his reactionary skills with his head absolutely, certainly are not good. I think he, phantomed on what, in my opinion, should have been a pick six yesterday. Ended up being a completion to DK Metcalf. He jumped the route perfectly, but it was almost kind of like he jumped the route with his arm like this because all I sat there and wondered is how did Tyson Campbell not walk away with this ball? Got beat on the sluggo and, kind of got caught peeking in. But you're telling me Tyson Campbell is my corner 2 next year for like dirt money with Denzel Ward. I think I'm okay with that. I get everybody's frustration level. I absolutely do. I'm there with you. And just because, I like the head coach and the general manager more than the rest of you does not mean I'm not aggravated. I think this team is capable of a better product. And now that the schedule is not as demanding, that needs to start showing up and needs to start showing up on Sunday. We appreciate all of you for the support here for the OBR, whether it's the written work over at theobr.com Head on over there, look into the VIP access, insider forums, ask the insiders. Have your subscription bundled with Paramount Plus, and for all the support here for the OBR streaming network, beginning nightly at 6 p.m. with Browns 3D. Various incredible shows. Tonight you will get the Gang of Three at 7 o'clock following after. Pete, Lane, and of course Barry McBride. Make sure you subscribe to the OBR streaming network on YouTube. And of course, make sure you subscribe to the OBR over on Twitch. This has been your daily delivery of all things Dog Pound. Browns 3D on the OBR streaming network. And we will talk to y'all tomorrow.